Paul Mash TV time again. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode. We got a great interview coming up for you shortly. But before we begin, don't forget about the subscribe button and the bell button down below you there. And anytime you do that, when you got a new episode coming your way, you'll be notified, and you can check that out and leave a comment on the comment section if you'd like. And also, we're on Facebook, so go to facebook.com/Paul Mash TV. And you can send us an inbox there, comment the things you see, and of course follow us. We would love you for that. And also you can send us an email. It's paulmashtv, all one word, at gmail.com. And if you so happen to be a band or a solo artist that's emailing us and you want to know information on how to be on the show, just ask us about that and we'll show you how to do that. And also, we love fan mail at that same email address. So if you're just simply a fan, send us a letter and tell us what you think of the show, and we'll get back to you. And all this will be recapped at the closing credits at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. From Ambrose, Pennsylvania, we have Eddie Mann with us today, a very awesome artist, and I think you'll agree. And we're going to get to that in just a second, but here's a quick word from Galtar, the guitar made specifically for a woman. And we'll be right back right after this.
Ready in 5.
Darling, when nothing else seems to match up. Galtar, the musical apparel that fits any outfit. Galtar, bringing heaven to earth, one gal at a time. GaltarHeaven.com.
Okay, we're back, and with us from Ambler, Pennsylvania, today we got Eddie Mann with us. Thanks for joining us, Eddie Mann.
Joy to be here. You had to be had.
Well, we're glad to have you here today. The first question I always ask my guests is, because everyone has their own story, but tell us a little bit about how you decided you wanted to become an artist.
I was brought up in a home where my father was a pianist, kind of a jazz pianist, and my mother was a creative person. So it was inevitable that I was going to do something creative with my life. And I think I was in my junior year of college, and the summer came, and I decided to just shelve everything and just play music for a bit, just to get it out of my system. And a lifetime later, apparently it was pretty well knitted into the fabric of who I am, because I never stopped playing.
Mm-hmm.
I did go back to school at one point, because when my children were young, when I met my wife and we were going to have a family, I didn't want to be on the road and not be around my kids. So I did have a season where I did go back to school so I could teach and be around my kids while they were very young. And as soon as they started to become independent, I went back to playing.
Okay, well, that's a great story. I'm glad that you're doing the music thing. Maybe you have many years ahead of you, and I hope so. And we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, I thought I kind of I wandered into I didn't start out playing music, spiritual music, music of faith, but when I came back, I was married, and when I came back to it, I had released 2 albums, and a pastor from a church I had never met, I had never been to the church, called me up one afternoon and said, do you have 15 minutes? And they weren't that far away. I said, sure. And I drove over, and 3 hours later, I was a worship leader. And neither of us knew exactly what that meant. It was not a strange thing, but a completely off the wall type of event. The music that he heard was positive, optimistic, hopeful, cup half full type of lyric. And he saw, a promising budding spiritual leader in those songs on those first two albums. And I had roots in the church. I was brought up in a family that went to church every week and took me. And I went with my little bow tie and my little hat. My mom dressed me up. I used to look like I was going to the racetrack. But it became a natural evolution. And for 20 years, I've been writing and releasing albums in that ilk, and have songs being sung across the world on Sunday morning. And much to my surprise, I figured I would be retired at this point and finished, but that's not the case. My demand is the same as it ever was, if not a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So it's been an interesting run, to say the least.
Well, I can see that. Well, what were some of the artists that you grew up with that helped influence you to be the artist you are today?
Yeah. Well, I'm one of those. I'm another one of those kids that was in front of the TV set, when the Beatles came on, quite a long time ago, and I was certainly smitten by it. And like I said, I already had some music in the house, so it was an instantaneous love for it. I didn't know. I was nothing but an athlete back at the time, and my father, who was a pianist, said, "Well, would you want to learn some piano?" And I said, "Well, let's try it." The first week, the piano teacher came in. I sat down, and he freaked out because my hands weren't clean enough. And I was a ball player, and I thought, well, this ain't gonna work. So I told my dad, I said, no, this isn't, for me. And it was a year or so later that somebody had an extra guitar, and I picked it up, and I instantly found a voice, because I was a pretty shy kid in school. But I put a guitar around my neck, and I had all the confidence in the world, even though I couldn't play it yet. I had confidence, I had a voice, and it was a very natural thing for me.
So, were there any other bands besides the Beatles that really inspired you?
Oh yeah, I went through a period where I was going to be the next great guitarist, and I worked my way through the first generation, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck guys, and I was out in the workforce playing 7 nights a week through the 80s with the next generation of guys, Eddie Van Halen and that whole crew when they came up, and I kind of molted into this jazz world now. As you get, I think as you go along your journey, if you don't want to get stale, you need to be learning all the time, and you need to be working at stuff. And I've always been someone who wanted to get better at whatever gift I had. I felt, that I needed to, if I have the gift, I want to serve it well by working to improve it. And it wasn't a question for me. Usually I could play things, I could figure out anything and play it, but I was always interested in what these other guys were listening to that made them hear, what inspired them to play. So it gravitated out of that. I really listened to everything, because I grew up in a home that everything was played. I had a real diverse background of things. I liked a lot of Bartok, classical stuff, string quartets and things through a period of time, and certainly a lot of even bebop, jazz, Oscar Peterson things my father was playing in the house. So there's an awful lot of what's the word I want to put? An awful lot of inspiration weaved into the fabric musically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can tell that because a lot of those bands you mentioned, I mean, obviously they're legends, like you mentioned Clapton, and obviously, and even stuff like Eddie Van Halen and all that stuff. I mean, you can't go wrong with him.
Yeah, there's so much to learn from everybody. So I think we do ourselves a disservice if we discount what anybody's playing, even some old country stuff. I'll go back and listen to it and look for something in. There's got to be something in here that I can learn from, you know.
Right, exactly. And of course, that's what we do here on the show. We cater to all genres of music. So,
Mhm.
well, after this interview and listen to the video that we're going to ready to show in just a moment here, they may want to go download some of your music, like on all the streaming platforms, or even follow you on social media. Why don't you tell everybody how they can do that?
Sure. My website, start there, is eddymann.com, EDDYMANN. Facebook is eddymann.musician. X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. Instagram was Eddy_man. I'm certainly can be found anywhere music is sold: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all the hit parade of distributors. They can all be found there, and I encourage people to correspond any way they can, whatever platform they're comfortable in, because I think that's, you know, art's, I mean, the whole purpose of art in general and music is to create response from people. And I'm just at ease talking to someone who is inspired by something I wrote, or maybe just on fire because they really dislike it. It all makes for a good conversation, and it all makes it's all good. You know, we don't have to agree on everything, but conversing about it, I think, is really a positive.
Okay, well, everybody go out there at all those social media sites and all those streaming platforms he just mentioned and get his music. I know he would love you for that. And as I mentioned a minute ago, we're getting ready to show the video very shortly. It's called Hope of the World.
Yes.
It's I watched the video. It's really great. I know everyone out there will love it too. Tell us a little bit about it. I'm sure it's self-explanatory, but give us an idea about the story behind the song and the video.
Yeah, the song actually goes back quite a ways. It's been kicking around for 10 years or so, and I've had multiple arrangements of it, and I just never really liked it. I like the message. It's a very simple, repetitive message. It's easy for people to sing along with, and that was really what I wanted to leave people with, a refrain that they could lean on when they feel hopeless. But it took a while to find a template or a way to set up the song. And the last album, Chapel Songs, was there's a version of it on there that I really love for the first time. And I'm fond with the one you're going to play here. The arrangement is the same, but it's an unplugged version of it. It's a little quieter, but I'm finally at ease with it.
Okay, well, as I said, it is a great song, and I'm sure everyone out there, as I said, will love it as well. And we'll get to that in just a second, but I think that's all the time we have for right now, Eddie, and we want to thank you so much for coming on. We'd love to have you back again if you have anything new to plug in the future.
It was a pleasure. Look forward to it. Thank you for the support.
Yeah, no problem. And here it is, Hope of the World by Eddie Mann. It begins right now.
Hope of the world, shine on us. You are the answer. Hope of the world, shine on us. You are the answer. Lift up our hearts, lift up our souls. Lure us away from all that's wrong. Lift up our hearts, lift up our souls. Give us the strength to carry on. Hope of the world, shine on us. Hope of the world, shine on us. You are the answer. answer. Oh, you are the answer. Here we stand, blessed with each new day. Here we stand, humbled works of clay. Hope of the world, shine on us. Hope of the world, shine on us. You are the answer. You are the answer. Hope of the world, shine on us. Hope of the world, shine on us. You are the answer. You are the answer. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly